All right. So last week I shared a video that discussed the vitamins, minerals, and you know, food chemicals and phytonutrients. Trying to show you guys kind of a little bit of what I know about the supplements that we might need as we get older. Um, but today, I wanted you guys to learn about the history of our food and medicine, just a little bit. We don't have to get too deep into it. This is not going to be a historiography. I'm not going to like dig and find every little piece of evidence, but I did put together just a little presentation that you might appreciate. Okay, so this lesson today, okay, is going to be on basically the interwoven evolution of our food and medicine. So here's a timeline of how food and medicine evolved together and have shaped our human health. Okay, so early humans practiced hunting and gathering with diets of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and animal protein. The medicine was based on plant based remedies and shamanistic rituals with trial and error methods. This information is actually recorded information. So we know that this stuff was in writing. It was documented by the Greeks and the Romans, right? That they ate grains, vegetables, and meat. Um, the father of medicine, Hippocrates, said that food was medicine. The Egyptians, right? Their medical practices were both magical and practical. They used Ayurvedic practices um, from India and China. All right, so through medieval times in Europe, right, um, the people's food supply was dictated by their class, right? So if you're poor, you're gonna get the scraps, right? Um, but I know that for years they used to have this stuff called pottage, right, where they just throw everything in one pot, right? During the Renaissance era, they took potatoes and um, other foods from the Americas. I know in Italy, I'm half Italian, and my mom they use a lot of sauce in their food, and but apparently the tomatoes, you know, they were from here. So the Europeans in Italy they didn't have tomato sauce. I guess before the Europeans landed here in America, because um, they didn't have the tomatoes. So I guess apparently they got the tomatoes from like over here, because I know that a lot of the um, Native American cultures, they would use tomatoes. I like tomatoes. I'm Italian, so I love tomatoes. Shoot, I like to have tomatoes on my salads, and I love sauce and all that. So I think Tom Brady or something. I remember he was saying something about tomatoes are not good for you, whatever. And I'm not trying to dig into that one. I'm trying to leave that one alone because I want to have a couple of tomatoes. Maybe in the future I'll have a video. I don't want to dig into that one. So anyway, so yeah, so basically, um, the Islamic Golden Age. Okay, this is interesting. I studied this and I was blown away because they preserved medical texts. They built hospitals across Europe, um, and they were advancing anatomy through dissection. But then one thing I noticed when I was studying them is that they would try to just focus on helping the person and trying to help them heal. All right, so now the 18th and 19th centuries, just so you guys can know what that is, when that was. Um, the 18th centuries, a lot of people get confused, right? So the 18th century would be from the year 1701 to 1800. Okay, the 19th century would be 1801 to 1900. Okay, so the 20th century would be when 1901 to the year 2000. The Industrial Revolution. So that happened in Europe and it happened here in Americas. And what it was, right, is that you know um, people, um, people would live in like out in the country, right? They would have farms and stuff, and then they would trade stuff, right, and all that. But then when we started building these big buildings, right, in these cities, um, and then we started putting machines in there, right, and then they were able to start manufacturing goods um, quicker, cheaper, and and basically they can produce mass quantities now, right? Um, so what that did was that cut the cost. So then guess what? The people in the out in the countries had to do in the farms, right? Well, people weren't buying their products. So then a lot of them had to move to the cities. So then they have to work in the factories, right? In these big buildings, right? This industry, right? And then of course, since then, a lot of people were poisoned and a lot of people were sick. A lot of people made money. A lot of people lost money. So a lot of things happened based on the Industrial Revolution. So we actually, since then, we had this thing called the Green Revolution, right? Where they actually uh, tried to enhance, improve our food, which that didn't go too well. They increased some of the food, but they also basically, incorporated toxic chemicals as well. But then today we have this thing called the technological revolution, right? What's going to happen with that? Is that going to be all positive? Is it all positive, right? Is this technology all positive? Maybe, maybe not. Some are going to some are going to benefit. Some are going to get wealthy. Some are probably going to lose everything. They're probably not even able to find a job because the technology's taking over, right? Some are going to be rich. Some are not going to be able to take advantage of the situation that the this opportunity that we have, like I am right now. I'm recording these videos to help influence people, right? Well, if I didn't have this technology, I would not be able to do all this, and so I'm grateful. I like it. I take advantage of my opportunities in my life, right? So, anyway, so processed foods increased during the Industrial Revolution. Graham and Kellogg promoted whole foods and vegetarianism. Um, Jenner's smallpox vaccine marked preventative medicine start, and germ theory began as well. Okay, so early to mid 20th century, nutritional science developed with vitamins identified. The organic movement began as a reaction to pesticides and additives. Fleming discovered penicillin and new technologies like X-rays and insulin advanced healthcare. Okay, so Norman Borlaug, he crossed wheat strains back in the 40s to actually increase production. He crossed the wheat, the strains of the wheat, and it increased the production of the food supply in the world. Um, so as productivity increased, famines and hunger-related exclusion became less common in countries like France and England. Um, the average food supply more than doubled in France over the last 300 years, improving food supply in France. Okay. So global trends, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization provides comprehensive data on food supply and consumption over the decades since 1961. There has been a consistent global uptrend in per capita calorie supply, reflecting changes in food production, distribution, and consumption patterns worldwide. Notably, poorer regions of the world have seen a substantial increase in caloric supply, leading to convergence in global trends. Okay, then through the late 20th century, fast foods and processed foods led to diet related illnesses. The organic movement and varied diets gained popularity. um, Medicines, so the DNA discoveries and vaccination programs shaped health, while antibiotic resistance led to cautious use of antibiotics. then in the 21st century, um, emphasis is on whole foods, plant-based diets, and sustainability with concerns over GMOs and food chemicals. Advances in biotechnology and precision medicine target individual health needs, responding to modern challenges. Okay, guys, so for this last slide, just gonna I'm just gonna continue to discuss the sad diet we have because it can harm our brain function as in a little as 1 week. You know, it shows that the high fat, sugary foods can impair our memory and increase cravings, disrupting the hippocampus and appetite control. Um, that this cycle actually promotes overeating and weight gain. Um, the average American diet, high in salt, saturated fat, refined grains, and added sugars, contributes to obesity and other health issues. Choosing whole, nutrient dense foods is essential for better health and well being. So, this is just the video, you guys, on a little bit of the history of some of our food and medicine. And tying it together, I talked about the American diet, the SAD diet. Well, it seems like the SAD diet, what it says here, it shows that, well, if we're eating that diet, right, it's going to cause other health problems, right? So then we're going to be stuck going to the doctors, right? And then going to the doctors, we're going to have to deal with, you know, their science, right? Their Western medicine science, right? Um, so what I've done over the years is I've tried to pull stuff out of my diet that when I have a health issue pop up, right? Like for example, when I had gout, right? Gout was because there were certain foods I was eating that were it basically um, it's like you have like a vice grip on your ankle, and so you feel like something's squeezing all the time on your ankle, right? Because these crystals form inside there, and they push on the nerves and everything. But when you stop eating certain foods, then you can actually reverse that. So, um, anyway, hopefully you guys learned something from this little lesson on the history of our food supply. I did one on, like I said, the vitamins and the minerals. Now this is the history of more of our food and a little bit of our medicine. I didn't get too deep into it, but I just wanted you guys to understand a little bit of my perspective. So now we can dig into how we can maybe um, learn how to eat better foods that taste good, right? And then maybe we can learn how to exercise so we can maybe get in shape, and then we can avoid having to bother the doctors all the time with health issues that we prevented because we took care of ourselves a little bit every day.